Hello YouTube, my name is Transient Lion, and the character I'm going to be talking about today is Obito Uchiha. Yep, you heard it right, I'm going to be talking about Obito, a character that a lot of people really don't like again. And this time the reasons are complete bullshit, and they're arguments that come from people who can't understand um, stories that are more complicated than what Dragon Ball Z has to offer. Just for the record, I really like Dragon Ball Z, just saying. Um, so yeah, I think the easiest way to handle this is by talking about his life as it goes on, rather than the things that are revealed about him as they go on. Um, but I guess I should talk about his build up a little bit first. Um, Obito is a fantastically built up character because from moment one, like the first scene we see in the entire series is the Nine Tails attacking the Hidden Leaf Village. And sure, we don't know at the time what's happening, like who's behind that attack, or that anyone is behind the attack. Um, Nor do we know. My cat interrupted again. Um, yeah, we don't know anyone is actually behind the Ninetales attack when it first happens, but it getting revealed later that the masked man um, who's been working with the Akatsuki is the one that's been behind that attack. Like, that just ramps things up a lot more. But like, even before all of that, Obito was built up really well. Um, from the moment Kakashi said that everyone he ever cared about is already dead. And also the time that he visits the grave and we first see the name Obito. I think that was sometime in Shippuden, but I didn't read the manga, so I don't actually remember where it was. I only know that because I've seen anime manga differences videos. But yeah, just like plus like there's another level of his build up. There's another level of build up to him, um, where you see this weird mask guy who's acting all goofy, and his name is Toby. And like they don't tell you all that much about him, but he's goofy and like nobody can fucking hit him, and it's just like he always wears a mask so you can't see his face, and yeah, I was very interested to see like who this character was from the very start, and I think a lot of other people were. Um, but yeah, Obito is not a character that a lot of people ended up liking once the mystery was unveiled. So yeah, I think now starting off in early points of his life is a good point to like kick off from. So yeah, um, later on in the series, it is revealed that that Obito as a kid was much like Naruto. He was essentially the protagonist of his own story. He was a he was a hyperactive like he was a hyperactive what's the word, outcast. Yes, outcast, that's the word. He was a hyperactive outcast who didn't have any friends except for Kakashi and Rin, and yeah, like he didn't he definitely didn't feel like he belonged up until he made those friends. It was absolutely not a fun experience for him up until that point. And not long after he got his friends, he, like, actually befriended people for the first time, he was drafted into a literal worldwide war. He, a lot of the Third Great Ninja War is off screen, but Obito probably saw a lot of people that he, just either cared about or like talked to at some point. What with being a ninja train, or what with being a shinobi. Um, he probably saw a lot of those people get brutally killed, and we don't know how long he was caught up in the war up until that. Up until the point where he got crushed by the rock and was rescued by Madara. But it was probably a while, and Obito was not in a good spot when he realized that he wasn't actually dead after giving Kakashi his eye. After that, he was just cut off from the war, cut off from his friends. He didn't know what was going on, and Madara pretended not to know what was going on to further manipulate him. And, like, anybody who has to wipe Madara's ass after he shits is not in a good position, if you ask me. I will get to Madara at some point, trust me. But yeah, it's just like, all he's thinking about at this point is getting back to his friends and finally being able to talk to them again. Finally, like, having the solace that he's been able to see for so long back. He finally manages to leave the cave that he's been stuck with Madara in for like probably weeks. And then the first thing he sees is his best friend killing the girl that he had a crush on, who was also one of his only friends. Yeah, can you blame the guy for going fucking berserk? And this is a key moment, because a lot of people see this moment and think that it's his entire motivation. A lot of people think that Obito resented his inability to have sex with Rin up until adulthood, so that he could start a war over being able to have sex with a child. And I failed to see where this is not insane. Like, people really don't want to see the complexities and nuances in this character, I swear. And, like, allow me to explain why this is insane for any of you who are doubting. So, for one, I doubt that sex was even on Obito's mind when he was, like, a kid. Like, okay, yeah, he was, like, 13, so maybe it was at certain points. But, like, Obito sees the time that he had spent with Kakashi, Rin, and Minato as the happiest days of his life. And that carries through to adulthood. He was happy with them because he finally felt like he belonged somewhere. And that was just shredded right before his very eyes. He didn't have any context with why Kakashi was killing Rin, but he saw it. He saw it happen. And it broke him. And I think my favorite part of this moment is where Obito's looking up into the sky and he says, "I'm in hell." Like, those 3 words were so powerful. they made me care so much for how broken this character had become. And, yeah. It, he didn't feel like he could return to the life he had after seeing what he did. So, he returned to Madara. And Madara filled his head with hopes of a fantasy world, a dream where he would never have to suffer again. And, it wasn't just for him, it was for the whole world. Given the amount of fucked up shit that Obito probably saw during the Third Great Ninja War, and, you know, the thing that made him, the thing that made him lose faith in the world, that being Rin's death, he was probably more than happy to provide a tempting fantasy like that for everybody. I don't know if Obito thought that he was being a good person when he did all of this, but one thing that is definitely true is that he eventually grew into a person who didn't care about anything, and didn't see anything, and didn't think anyone mattered. He became a pure, unadulterated nihilist, believing that only he had the ability to give people what they needed. And, like, yeah, I do think that that is a really good motivation for an antagonist. A lot of the, and I think that Obito wearing masks from here on until his mask is destroyed in the war is actually like a very interesting point that has a lot of symbolism to it, because not only does he wear physical masks to protect his appearance and identity from people, but in a way, like, he didn't actually need to use the Akatsuki. But he did it to further protect himself, to serve as a secondary mask, a more metaphorical mask, to protect people from even suspecting that it was him. The only reason why people started suspecting it is because Minato literally hid his chakra inside of Naruto, and literally told Naruto, "Hey, the guy in the mask, yeah, he's kind of the reason why your nine-tailed fox is inside of you, dude." And so, like, plus he had to start taking charge now that Nagato was dead, and etc., etc. But yeah, then we get to the war where he helps Kabuto collect all of these shinobi corpses, including a lot of the Akatsuki members. And now he's taking things front and center, and actively participating in this war that he's started. And again, Obito did not start the war over Rin. Like, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but when Obito and Kakashi are fighting, he literally says, "Did you really think I would start this entire war just because of Rin?" And yeah, if he's telling Kakashi that, then that's probably a sign that it's not actually the reason why he started this. And even if he did, it is not because he wants to have sex with a child. Like, even granting as many, um, even granting as many affordances to this bullshit theory as possible, even if Obito is, like, imagining himself having sex with Rin, he's probably imagining himself being the same age as her. But, you know, he never once, like, makes pervy eyes or even makes a single statement towards Rin. Like, it's not... He's not Jiraiya. And Jiraiya wouldn't even do stuff like this. Like, he's not Orochimaru either. Like, guys... I seriously can't believe that's the... I seriously cannot believe that's the common consensus about this character. It's so dumb. But yeah, just like... He associates her with the happiest moment of his life, with the happiest times of his life, where he actually had friends and belonged to people. He had goals and aspirations. He wanted to become Hokage, just like Naruto did. And, yeah. All of that got ruined, and so he gave up on the world, and was just like, I can't do this. This world is hell. I have to make sure that nobody has to suffer through this hell, and like I did. No matter how many sacrifices it has to make, I have to put everyone in a dream. Because nothing else matters. Reality doesn't matter. That is the philosophy of Obito Uchiha. But yeah, like, not to mention that Obito's really fun to watch throughout a lot of the war. Like, before they take off his mask, he's just, like, gloating all the time, and, like, he's just gloating and laughing and kind of full of himself, and he's just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the best you got, huh? Alright, I'm just gonna do this thing that makes you not able to touch me. While we're on that, Kamui is a fucking awesome ability, and I love any kind of intangibility abilities. Like, those are, like, always really fun to watch. Because they always need to have, like, a creative or interesting kind of workaround to let people who, you know, can't usually hit intangible people actually hit them. And, like, the idea that Kamui is, like, reactionary that's also awesome. I love that. Because, like, it's very clear that you can just be much faster than Obito and still hit him before he can activate Kamui. Like Minato did when they fought. And, like, also the scene where Minato just, like, rushes up and slashes his throat open also proves that he can't just use Kamui all the time. Although I think that was after he absorbed the Jubi. I think that might have been, so he couldn't use Kamui there. But yeah, also Kamui is so broken that they had to make him not able to use it in one form, in his strongest form, so that's also cool. But, like, yeah. I think a lot of people... Yeah, I might as well talk about the rest of him, of his, like, story-wise. So, yeah, Obito gets his mask broken, and then he fights Kakashi. Kakashi breaks the seal, and he's like, "Ha, you fool! I have activated my trap card!" And then he, like, goes into the real world, and then absorbs the Jubi, and becomes its Jinchuriki. And, like, that moment was awesome. Because it completely broke every sense of power levels in the series up until that point. And things only got more ridiculous from there in the war. But, like, yeah, I was looking at this and I was just wondering, how the fuck are these people going to beat him? He's he's won. He did it. They were trying their best, throwing as many jobbers as they possibly could at the Jubi in order to try and beat it. And now he's the Jinchuriki of it, and, like, then he gains control of it and grows even stronger than it. And it's just like, ooh, that's a lot of tension right there. Um, but yeah, um, the fight that follows, is really, really cool too, because, like, it brings power levels in Naruto up to a new standard. I know a lot of people don't really like the larger scale battles in Naruto, but, like, you gotta understand, it's not just Dragon Ball Z at that point. Because, like, there are powers that people have to, like, still work around. With, like, hacks abilities that do stuff that, like, hinder the other party. Like, Obito mainly fights using truth-seeking orbs in this form. And, truth-seeking orbs kind of nullify all ninjutsu that isn't senjutsu based. And, I mean, alright, yeah, Naruto and Sasuke both get senjutsu based transformations that, like, help them fight it. But even with senjutsu, he was kind of blocking a lot of their shit that they were doing. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I kind of forgot about this part. But, like, before this, like, long before this started, um, Obito's seeing Naruto on the battlefield for the first time after his mask is off, and seeing a lot of himself in Naruto. There was this very real sense that he wanted Naruto to feel the same kind of despair that he had. He wanted to crush Naruto's dreams just like his dreams had been crushed so long ago. Because he saw that idealistic child as weak, as someone who was living a lie. And it almost fucking worked too. Like, Naruto was just like, what the fuck? Oh my god, maybe the world is shit. And then, like, one of my favorite scenes with Hinata happens, and she's just like, hey Naruto, stop being depressed. And he's like, I never thought of it that way. It was definitely more complicated than that, but I'm, I wanted to be funny about it. um, but yeah, like, then comes the thing that a lot of people don't really like, and that's Obito losing to Talk no Jutsu. I kind of get why a lot of people don't like Talk no Jutsu. I mean, Naruto is an action-based show, and losing to a conversation sounds like it's not really all that satisfying. But I don't know, man. I think that Naruto being able to solve problems with diplomacy is really, like, cool. I think it's really mature of the series to show that problems can be solved like this after all of the necessary fighting is over. And I think the way they handle it with Obito isn't the best. Like, it's definitely no Nagato speech. It's definitely no, like, conversation with Nagato. I will give it that. But, yeah, Naruto starts seeing more of himself in Obito after connecting with him through combat, and talking to him, showing him the kind of ridiculous hypocrite he's been, the kind of lie that he's been living is a really good, like, juxtaposition of what Obito tried to do to him earlier in the war. Um, and yeah, Naruto showing him all of that hypocrisy broke his spirit, broke his will, and broke the sword of Nunaboko, allowing Naruto and Sasuke to win the fight. But of course, it wasn't over yet, and yeah, then they had to deal with Madara. But I'm not going to talk about most of that. I am going to talk about... Nah, I think I'll save my thoughts on Madara manipulating Obito for when I talk about Madara. Um, but yeah, the kind of, like, self-sacrifice that Obito tried to do to prevent Madara from gaining the power that he had a taste of for so long, or for, like, for that period of time, that's respectable. And I think at this point I want to point out something very clear. Obito does not believe that he is a good person after Naruto Talk no Jutsus him. Obito believes that he is beyond redemption and realizes that he does not deserve to live at this point. Regardless of what other people think about him in universe, he knows that he is beyond redemption, and feels like it's more than fitting to give his life so that people who do deserve to live don't unnecessarily lose their lives. He knows that it's not going to redeem all of the horrible things that he did. All of the slaughter, all of the warmongering, all of the manipulation. There's no coming back from that. But he does place his hopes in the people that he does believe in. Like, when he sacrifices himself against Kaguya, his last words are to Naruto. He says, "Become Hokage at all costs." And, like, I don't think this is the most powerful sentence in the series by far, but it is thematically appropriate. What isn't thematically appropriate, though, was Naruto calling Obito awesome. Yeah. Obito wasn't the coolest guy, everybody. Like, even as an apologist, I can say that Naruto was way out of line to forgive Obito like that. Like, that is not what you should have him do. It should have been another Nagato situation, except like 10 times worse because he literally killed his parents. Obito literally killed Naruto's parents. And, like, I get that it might have been like a spur of the moment thing, but I mean, dude, do not call the guy who pretty much caused every problem that led to why you're here in the first place. Don't call him awesome. That is not what you should be doing. But yeah, like, I think all of that summarizes my thoughts. I think Obito is a way overhated character by the fandom, because they don't understand that the character has complexities and nuances. Yeah, let me give you that little idea. Okay, so think about the entire Rin situation, and either turn Obito into a girl, or turn Rin into a guy. Reverse the genders for one of the parties, and still say with a straight face that that is what that is what they were going for. Nothing changes because Rin's a girl. So yeah. Anyway, I think I've rambled on for quite long enough. Um, yeah. If you want to see me talk about other characters, put that down in the comments, and we will do that. We will see if I do that. Bye.